And I started looking for that one. So that was the one that would make me happy. High heels, short skirts, looking for attention. Like when I finally met a man from whom I'm learning something. So he's the only man, me, and two of my girlfriends. Oh, I said his name. I gave them a good lecture, I felt accomplished.
Yeah, and I was like, cool. And he's all the time, so why?
Yes. Well, it's either my way or the highway. If you don't see my beauty, then it's your problem, Wow, what an like he's not even fighting for me.
Yeah, he should have come to you like in romantic comedy.
Yeah, like in Hollywood movies, they come. Wow, like I never thought about pain, and he sees me strong, but I also feel like sometimes.
The same with men, I think.
Yes, I was perceiving men as those who might potentially hurt me. That's why I was so strong with them.
You communicate with a lot of people who come to you to ask for advice and who begin this self-development, self-exploration journey, just as I did. So does the person need to face some major difficulties in her life to start like exploring? What's the factor that usually triggers that? Because, for example, my story is that through the last almost 2 years now, I've gone through a lot. Like the war in Ukraine started, I had to move 5 times to different countries. I lost my business. I had to start another business from scratch. I had a Splendor, which I survived. And then the divorce, I understood that it's not the kind of relationship I want to have. And so like a lot of things happened in a span of like 2 years, even less. And that's why like I had those hard times when I like cried for several months every day. And I understood that I need like some psychological support. I started therapy, what's different online courses, also psychological, and started exploring my inner self. So can a person living like normal life start this process?
Yeah, like for example, when you are in love and somebody's telling you, buddy, you need to meditate. It's like, screw that, I enjoy this more than anything, right? So in most cases, and I mean, maybe it's different for everybody, but I know that a lot of people experienced awakening, whether in a car crash, or whether like cancer, or like some life-threatening disease, breakups, deep depressions. Like in a lot of cases, awakening happens. It's like this journey inward starts from where the person achieves the bottom almost. In my case, it was because I really fell in love deeply with this man. And he is 22 years older than me. My rational mind, analytical mind, which actually separates who we are, like our persona and our soul, basically, or subconscious. Our analytical mind, which is a constant flow of thoughts, it's like a veil, right? And the soul is pure love, and like this is the part of you that wants to experience the most love possible, right? And then analytical mind, this is not possible. Like relationships cannot be perfect, and it's okay to yell at each other, like. And you live in that for a while. I was like, we need to do something about it. I need to do something with myself. So in my case, the analytical side of me was like the thoughts were floating. He's 22 years older. What you gonna do with him in 10 years and 20 years? Maybe he doesn't want to have a family anymore, and maybe he doesn't want to have children. So all of this, like the veil, it was almost the veil was so intense because I was my masculine side of me was very dominating at that time within myself, because I'm in immigration, building life from scratch in a new country. I came as a student with $800 in my pocket, not knowing anyone, doing my master's degree at University of Alberta, like coming from a village, like a lot of things that like survival aspects needed to be managed, and around that needs to survive, this analytical mind was helping me a lot actually to build the foundation. Yeah, so I'm really grateful that it was so cute at that time. But then when it comes to like after 9 years of living in Canada, I kind of started seeing like, okay, I have a house I wanted, I have the job I always was, dreaming about, like seeing people, socialize, like being successful, making good money, traveling. I knew everyone in the city. Like I was a social butterfly, right? Like anywhere I would go, I know people know me and I know people, and it's like this connection. So at some point it served a good purpose. But then I achieved this feeling, was like, but there is something more. Like what I'm looking for. Like this is not eternal. Like this house I live in, this is not forever. And then there are so many fears. What will happen if I lose my job? And how I'm gonna pay my mortgage? And like I was like, I don't enjoy these thoughts. Like these fears and then I'm like, what I'm looking for. And then I look at my sister who was married and her husband really loves her. I was like, yeah, like I want somebody who would love me like her husband loves her. And I was like, yeah, like I want to have this deeper meaning to my life, which is family. Like I want to have family and children. And I started looking for that one. So that was the one that would make me happy and bring meaning to my life, like through family and children. And I, like was on dating apps. I was kind of screening the candidates, so to say. But I also was very firm. At that time, it was actually really funny. Like he has to be at least as successful as me. Like now, like I was like, well, we wouldn't have the same topics to relate and conversations and all that. So I kind of developed my criterias, In essence, I was looking not so much for a man, but for security and feel less fear in life, right? I remember he would come to visit me in Edmonton and he would meditate. And for me, it was something like out of this world. I was like partying, like all these high heels, short skirts, looking for attention and validation from external environments that I'm pretty, because I myself didn't feel like I am pretty, so I needed external environment to tell me that I'm pretty. Anyways, that's, I think all of us are going through that at some point. So I was going through that. Just the same thing as I would go to the gym every day to work out 3 hours. Not necessarily I enjoyed the process of working out, but I was doing it because I wasn't completely happy and embracing the way my body was at that time.
We have to take this topic for some other time.
Yeah. Anyways, and this man, like I started seeing like I'm learning something new. And he was almost like inspiring me to explore something within myself. And it was a big turn on for me. Like when I finally met a man from whom I'm learning something.
Not vice versa, not whom I'm teaching.
Because I was always the one who would teach. And I was so exhausted by teaching and changing them. I was like, oh, like I don't want to do that anymore. Like I think I'm ready to learn. So, and here he is, comes to visit me, and he meditates and like shares what this is. And he was doing this 21 abundance meditation by Deepak Chopra. And he shared, like they have a group. And his friends, it's like a group on WhatsApp, and they receive this everyday guided meditation audio recording, and it was a 21-day abundance meditation journey. So it sounded pretty interesting, something very new for me. I was like, yeah, but he came to visit me and he's so committed to this, so it must be do something for him. And it triggered this spark of interest within myself. Then, while he was visiting me in Edmonton, I invited him to join the dinner where my girlfriends were. So he's the only man, me, and two of my girlfriends. And two of my girlfriends are sitting and complaining that all guys are assholes, that they are not treating them well, that they are using them, and that they disappear after sex, and like what to do, like if a man is just using you.
They were asking him for advice.
We were talking, and then Vance like was listening. Oh, I said his name. That's okay, actually. I don't mind. Hi, Vance.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is sitting and listening to me actually teaching them. I was like, yeah, why do you even worry that he disappears? You should focus in your career and become independent and become a queen who would attract a king. And the queen who doesn't even need anyone. Like, you should never need anyone. And he is listening. You know, it's like, and these two girls, you know, they're like, yeah, I understand, but it's not right for them to do that. And I'm like, well, why do you try to change them? Like, you can't really change anyone. All you can do is actually evolve yourself and evolve to the better version of you so that you have the immunity of not being hurt by circumstances like this. So not being hurt, right? Which again brings this concept of pain within a human experience. What is pain, right? And he's sitting and listening and not saying a word. Like, he was very quiet. And then I feel like I gave them a good lecture. You know, I felt accomplished.
Yeah, and I was like, cool. And he saw that I'm so like wise.
Yes. And I'm like, I think he loved it. I think he really, really admired me.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that evening when we came back from dinner, and he comes to me and he hugs me and he says, Mira, you're so strong, but those girls have pain. And I'm like, pain? Wow, like I never thought about pain, and he sees me strong, but I also feel like shit sometimes. So why I haven't ever addressed my pain? Maybe I'm not that strong. And when he hugged me, like all of these thoughts, I was like, wow, I love him so much. Like, he is guiding me on this journey. But I think he was doing it. He has no idea, I think, up until now, what impact he had on me. Because he helped me realize that I had my pain. And now, instead of running away from my pain, I became conscious of it, because around pain, we develop defense mechanisms. So this facade of a strong woman who is successful, makes money, recognized, and this driven, motivated, strong woman who doesn't need anyone, it actually a bunch of defense mechanisms that I developed around unconscious pain.
The same with men, I think.
Yes. So it was a twin flame connection, because he was exactly the mirror of me. Just the way he was not able to address all of his pain and being strong, because he will always say, I'm an alpha male and you are too strong and I don't think it's going to work out. I mean, it's nice that you are strong in your career and stuff, but in relationship, it just makes me a bit uncomfortable. I'm not used to that. He would always be identify himself as an alpha male. And for me, it was a big turn on, because he's a man,
You wanted someone stronger,
yes,
leader.
But I didn't realize that being an alpha female, I was actually not bringing his love, but bringing his defense. Not bringing out his defense, because his nervous system would always see me as a threat, and he would always feel like he needs to defend his position or his thought or his perception, right? Because I would always want to be right as well. And I mean, we didn't get to the level of arguments at all, but in this everyday communication, like the first 3 months were like beautiful. Like I was just so, this connection and love and like
Inspired.
And like, yeah, and the way he would always like teach me something new, and like this feels so amazing. And then like he would always say, "You're strong," but I was unconsciously always defending my position. Like we would talk about some silly things like, is Edmonton a good city to live in or not? And he lives in Vancouver, and people who live in Vancouver would always think that Edmonton is a shitty place to live. But I would always say Edmonton is amazing because that's where I live. And the way our ego works is that we always pretend the area where we are because it's a part of us.
Right.
But I enjoy my life in Edmonton. I mean, it was a strong foundation for me to be where I am right now.
But now you live in Vancouver.
But I moved there for this connection. I didn't move because Edmonton is shitty. Like a different thing. I moved there to explore this feeling with this man, and we're not together with him right now. And he would always like, seeing that I'm trying to protect my position and my like to be right all the time, he would say, "Mira, you're so strong. Like I admire that part of you, but for a relationship, like it's just not gonna work because I'm an alpha male and it makes me a bit uncomfortable. I feel like I have to always defend myself instead of relaxing." I was like, that makes sense. I don't want to be strong anymore because I like him, And that inspired me to do some inner work and understand, where does this strong woman come from? But to like the trigger point, like where before I started this inward journey, we actually we broke up. Like it was via text. Like we kind of was texting, and he would say, "You're too strong." I was like, "Well, it's either my way or the highway. If you don't see my beauty, then it's your problem," So it's like, I don't think you're. How did I say that? I think I said something in the way. I think we're looking for different things in life, and maybe we're not for each other, something like that. So I said that, and I remember he didn't respond to that message. And you know what? He didn't respond for a day. And now I know he just took time back and got out of the state of reflect and then respond when he's sane, and he's not in any fear or in it, And you know what he responded in 2 days? He agreed with me. He said, "Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. If you think that we're not for each other, I agree with you." It's like, wow, what an asshole. Like, he's not even fighting for me.
Yeah, he should have come to you like in romantic comedies.
Yeah, like in Hollywood movies, they come and like, it's like, what? But that's my old, persona. This strong woman where men have to work hard to get her kind of thing. And I was like, wow, like he's not even, like he just agreed with me. Like this is not what I'm looking for. So he's not the one. And like my analytical mind kicks in and it just got wild. Like my analytical mind started painting a picture of him as if like he is not the one, he doesn't deserve me. All of this stuff is defense mechanism. And then this moment comes, like the moment when he said, "But those girls have pain. You're so strong, but those girls have pain." And I remember I come home and I'm by myself. And I'm like, he calls me strong, but I feel like shit. I'm not enjoying myself right now. I'm not happy. And yeah, I have a nice house, I have a good job, I have a nice car, I'm successful, but I'm not enjoying myself. But I'm strong, like everybody. My friends see me strong, he sees me strong, I'm so strong. And I'm not enjoying myself. So is it really strength? Maybe it's not. And I remember that moment when he mentioned the concept of pain, right? So the 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I just, was doing this reflection of my personality, on my personality and why people see me strong, where the strength is coming from. And I wrote a letter to my inner self, where I went back into my past, and each situation where I experienced pain, I remembered what was my response to that feeling. Like, what did I do in those moments? And I realized that defense mechanism I had was working out really hard, like exhaust my body physically, then studying at school a lot, which now was working in the office till 11 p.m. It was just basically the same thing that I was doing, but in a larger scale. But the nature of defense mechanisms, they just stayed. So I realized that this facade and this mask of a strong woman was unconsciously created around my feeling of pain. So I started talking to this little girl, Mira. Like, I started talking to her. I was like, well, like, this pain that I experienced at that time, like, and now what I'm doing now, I don't want to repeat the same thing. Like, I want to live a different life. I want to have a different experience of life. So what do I need to do? So first and foremost, I need to go back and remember all those people who hurt me. And right now, I love my father so much. But the approach he used at that time was like he would beat us with the belt, right? And there was a lot of pain around that, and probably I wasn't able to forgive my father fully until I've done all this work. And now we are like we have the best relationship with him. In fact, he's a part of my project and my mission in life. So instead of just being a good daughter and doing the duty, going to see him because he's my father, I was like, wow, like my father did that because he didn't feel his pain. Like he didn't enjoy himself, right? And that's the way his parents were raising him. And because his generation didn't have access and capability to do this inner work and actually slow down and reflect on what's happening within us, I'm like, wow, like he's been in this state of being all these years. And I feel so much compassion to him. And all I want is just to come and hug him. Like that's all I want to do right now. And I started all people that were wired in my mind to the experience of pain. Like for example, pain, my father, that's why I'm scared of him, right? Like as a child, you get scared because he is stronger physically, he beats you with a belt. So it's really hard to love someone you are afraid of them, okay? And then I actually realized that led me towards the lens of perception of men in my life because I was seeing them as a threat. I was perceiving men as those who might potentially hurt me. That's why I was so strong with them. That's why my defense and the mask of a strong woman was so strong with them. So I did that. For 2-3 weeks, I was doing this psychology stuff. I reflected, anything
yourself without
by myself. Yes. And I remember at the time I was reading a lot. I was reading like online. Like I would read, what is ego? Like everybody's talking about ego. Now I want to read about ego, And then like defense mechanisms, the fight and flight responses of a nervous system. Like I got so interested in this. And I remember when I was at school and the teachers would made us learn that stuff. I was like, I don't want to read this shit. Like, this is not interesting. Now, I was so interested in this stuff, and it became so easy for me to understand because I was a living example of all those things. So for 2-3 weeks, I started like theoretically getting this data and information into my mental space, into my analytical mind to analyze it. And I'm like, okay, so now I need to apply it because that's when the truth, that's when true transformation starts, when we start applying what we already know, right? And so we broke up with bands, and like I started doing this work, and then I'm like, well, the truth is, like, I'm feeling like shit right now, and I'm not enjoying myself. It's because I ended it being a strong woman, which again, perceiving him as a potential threat, a potentially causing pain for me. I ended that. But what do I feel right now? Like at this present moment, I feel pain only because I feel connection with this guy. Like if zero shit's given, I mean, I wouldn't be even triggered. Only people who are really, with whom we're really connected, can trigger our buttons. And I started putting myself like on this like awareness. Mira, you actually like love him. That's the only reason you feel pain right now. Because the deepest love is hidden behind the deepest pain. If you dive deeper, behind deepest pain, there is deepest love. And then I started realizing, because I feel this connection with him and I experience these feelings with him, now I feel pain because I lost it. And I lost it because I told him it's not gonna work out and it's gonna be my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. So I did that in expectation to get more love from him, because I expected him to fight for me, and he didn't. An advice for a man, right? If your woman wants to leave you, just let her go. Because if you just let her go without fighting for her, it will really hurt her ego, and she'll come back.
And what if her ego is that big that she won because it means he didn't love her if he didn't chase her?
It depends how your mind is wired, right? Because the realization that somebody didn't love you, is it really something you enjoy, or it's pain? Like thinking that somebody doesn't love you, is it pain? Or is it, yeah, it's pain. And we were just talking about how actually pain plays a really important role in deepening your sense of self-awareness and really shedding some light on all of those, areas of you that you don't enjoy. Because it can start as pain and like thinking, okay, he doesn't love me, he and this and that. You don't enjoy this, you dwell in that feeling for extended period of time, but then you realize, actually, that guy isn't even here. And just the thought, the way I think about him, makes me feel bad. But it's my thoughts. So in reality, it has nothing to do with that guy. It's my thoughts about him. But what really happens is that he is also suffering. So you become a mirror of each other. Because he is thinking, oh, she didn't love me, that's why she left me. And you think he didn't fight for me, that's why he doesn't love me. In reality, it's just the same feeling. So people just become a mirror of each other. So relationship, in essence, relationship is a tool where people just reflect each other's parts, It's a tool to really learn all those areas of yourself that you're not conscious of. But once you learn these tricks of human mind, and you actually invest in making beautiful memories together, and you make every moment with the intention to give love, then you just know that she or he will come back. Because everything you could remember, for example, was beautiful moments because you did intention with love, right? And that's what you felt. So basically the memories, the information is now colored with the colors of, good feelings and love and pleasure and all of this. But if you look at, let's say a couple has been together for years and years, and all they have is the information which is wired to unpleasant feelings, then, of course, your mind will say there is no reason to come back. But in reality, you were creating that. You just didn't know how to stop.
I've heard about this term like love bank, which you feel you're like jar, family jar with emotions of joy and love, and even if it's full and you invest in it all the time, then in the moments of like despair or like bad moments, you still have those memories to hold on to and survive the bad page.
Yes, that's a very good point. In fact, now every time when I'm invited to a wedding and the couple asks me to say something like good wishes for them, the first thing that I tell them is that I want you to remember the feeling of this day forever. So that when your mind takes you into the jungle of unpleasant thoughts and perceptions of your loved one in a bad way that you don't enjoy, you have a trained muscle to come back to this feeling. So this feeling that you're experiencing during this day, it's your compass. If that's what you choose for each other, to be in this union for the rest of your life, then you have to stick to this feeling because this is your compass.
Mm-hmm. And what do you feel about the concept that, like, traditionally families stayed together and there was no such term as divorce? Well, it was very rare. And if you commit to a person, that then no matter what happens, you have to go through it, like to solve the problems, and that's what was in the old days. But now it's easier, like to switch a person, not to go into like if there are some troubles occur in the relationship, then people usually don't fight enough for that and just go on and like make new partnerships. Do you agree that you have to work on it, or like you might not have chosen the right person to live the whole life with, and then it's like you won't have happy life, and it's better to change the person or just stay alone, maybe better than be with a person that isn't good for you?
Very good question, Lila. So I will never work on a relationship. Because if you really work on a relationship, it will never work. The only thing, in reality, the only thing you need to commit to is to work on yourself. By meaning that you actually work on your level of self-awareness. That you get aware of all your triggers. That you take responsibility for all your sadness. You take responsibility for being upset. These are all your feelings that you are creating within yourself. So I can commit to working on myself to clean up the mess that I have within myself. And then naturally, relationships will blossom. Because if I build an amazing relationship with myself, meaning that I, like this awareness, this I, this the soul, or like the pure version of me, right? That version of me that, just has pure love. It's just pure love, right? But pure love is all embracing. That means that I have to embrace all the parts of me. Like all parts of me that good and bad, like of what analytical mind would divide on good and bad, pleasant, unpleasant. So I need to embrace all of those parts because they are a part of me. And by embracing, I can commit to learning all of them and becoming aware of all of them. And then once I am aware of all of them, convert them into highest level of love, right? Because energy cannot be created and it does not disappear. Love is a frequency and fear is a frequency. The only way for us to achieve the highest level of love possible is to convert all existing fear, insecurities, and all other low frequency feelings into something else. How we can convert them into something else is by doing conscious work on ourselves and changing the narrative, expanding our perception of reality based on full acceptance of it, and then falling in love even with fear and see the value of fear as well when it's not all the time. And say, actually, at that particular moment, it helped me to survive when I was in fear. But when I was triggered in a conversation, I was automatically set into the survival mode and fight or flight response with my husband, where it wasn't really necessary because he wasn't a real threat for me. I mean, he was just in a bad mood. So why did I feel like I needed to protect myself? So it wasn't necessary. So I can commit to that. I can commit to working on my shadows. And then once I do that, I know that my relationships will be perfect. Whether it's in the family, whether it's with my father, whether it's my sisters, like everybody, my friends, right? If I commit on to building amazing relationship with myself, all other relationships will be the extension of that. So there is no such thing as working on relationship with someone. You just work on, yourself, work on converting all your insecurities, anger, fear, anxiety, stress into something else, which is more pleasant, and share that whoever is next to you. It's very simple. Because nobody creates your state. You are creating all states of beings that you are experiencing. And by saying that somebody is making you upset, you're actually giving your power away. I think the biggest empowerment for me was when I realized that I create all of my states of being. Like it was not this man, it was not my family, it was not my father, it was not my sisters. Like I actually lived by myself, like for a long time, right? And I think circumstantially and by virtue and the destiny that I have for this lifetime is that I chose a period of time to live by myself, just to find myself. And to realize that the only, commitment I should have in this life is to build amazing relationship with myself, fall in love with every part of me, with my life, and then go out in the world and share that with people so that they could do the same. I will ask you a question.
Okay.
So, if you are in love with your life, you have passion for your life, you are in love with every part of you, will you ever hurt someone or attack someone in that state of being?
No. But no, because I would be content with my life and like everything around me. But still, like if the person next to me is always attacking me, it still doesn't feel good. Like, if you tell that if you're like fully aware of yourself and all this stuff, then basically it doesn't matter who is next to you because like you will be happy by yourself. But still, it does matter. I mean, like you can't be with anyone, right? So I want you to tell, like, in what cases can you like save the marriage or like work things out, and when it's better for both parties just to split and live happily ever after separately.
I will never tell people when to split or not to split. That's not what I'm here for. But what I can tell you is you find out where are you swimming in this ocean of life. Like, what is the vision for your life? Let's say you are 100 years old and you're on a deathbed. What would matter at that moment for you? Would it matter how much money you make?
No.
Would it matter what kind of house you built? What would matter? The profoundness of your life experience, the feelings that you experienced. Mm-hmm. That's why my vision for my life is to experience the highest vibration of love that this physical vessel is capable for. And to get there, the only way is to transform the existing energy that's not resonating with love, to convert it into love, which means my task is to fall in love with everything and everyone around me. So I'm training my mind, just like we train dogs. That's what I do with my mind. My mind actually starts enjoying it now, and I enjoy my mind. I love my mind right now. My mind is an obedient dog right now. And if I always have a pleasant movie in my mind, then I'm always in love with life. And then when people ask me, Mira, how are you? Of course I will say I'm eternally fantastic. That's why we call this podcast Eternally Fantastic. Because that's my eternal state of being, because I choose it. And then you asked, so then you can be with anyone. If I choose to, and if that being is also wants to swim in the same direction, I invite him to my party. But if he is like, this is all bullshit and this is psychobabble, he's not willing to swim in the same direction. And it doesn't mean there is something wrong with him. It means that I will let him go with love. That's what I did with this man who had that profound impact on me, because for me, this happened so fast, this self-awareness journey and awakening, and then finding my true purpose and what I'm here for, to experience the highest level of love possible, then bringing him gifts when I was on crutches and couldn't walk, because I'm on a mission. I wanted to experience love. When he didn't come to help me and support me when I couldn't walk after my surgery, he expected me to be angry with him, right? And what I did, I booked a flight, and on crutches when I couldn't walk, I brought him a gift, a birthday gift, right? So I didn't do it for him. I did it for myself, because I'm on a mission to experience the highest vibration of love possible in this physical vessel. And then you invite them on the journey. You invite friends on the journey, because, as human species, we are social creatures, right? So we are in constant relationship with everything and everyone. And then whoever resonates with your energy, they will follow you, because everybody's looking for love, right? They were like, what is she smoking? I want that too. And they're like, what do you do? Well, I'm just building good relationship with myself. I'm just loving, I'm learning to love every piece of me, all aspects of me. And believe me, there were a lot of things that I didn't like about myself before my awakening. And so I was attracting people who were mirroring the same level of unacceptance within themselves. And then I realized how it works, and I was like, okay, so then in order for me to attract different type of people, I need to change who I am so that I see a different reflection in a mirror. Mm-hmm. So again, it doesn't mean that I can be with anyone, but I guess the criteria is that the vision for life and what we want from life and the direction where we are swimming in the ocean of life, it has to be aligned. Otherwise, he would just not resonate with me. He would just call me that I am a weirdo and what is she smoking? She's weird. Why is she doing yoga? Why is she meditating? I don't get it. He would not understand what's up.
Yeah, I think that's what happens in some couples when one of them begins to explore herself or himself and begins, I think, naturally tries to share this with the partner. And if he maybe is not there yet, but he's interested to join and to explore as well, then it may work out. And but because usually someone awakens earlier than the other one, right? But if one wants to develop and gets to know all this stuff, begins meditating, and everything, and the other just looks at him and asks, where you changed, like I liked you the previous kinds of you, like go back. And you don't want to go back, right? Because you are in this process and you enjoy it, and then you can't make someone like come with you, right?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I am not with that man, because he just couldn't recognize me. Like, he met a different Mira, right? And then I've done so much inner work, and I like did a lot of crazy things, like lived in my car for 21 days, like coming on crutches to bring him a gift, and like things like that is not really normal for him, right? It's like, she is weird. But I was learning who I am. Like, I was just experiencing this flow of life, and usually masculine energy is more rigid, and I kind of almost didn't want him to change. Like, I didn't tell him to change, but the way I was and what I was embodying, it actually triggered fear in him. Like, he was like, she is weird. Right? And of course, if I triggered fear in him, love cannot be there, right? So deep within, I know, like, it was interesting for him to hang out with him because I was very different. But when he was thinking about relationship with me, it was fearful because he was not there. Like, it was like he couldn't really see us together because his analytical mind was interpreting it as like we are very different. Like, she likes just spontaneous trips all the time, traveling somewhere, seeing the world, like spending in meditation all this time, like going in nature and eternally fantastic. I'm not eternally fantastic. How, like
Though he was the one who showed you yoga and
well, not yoga, meditation.
Yeah. So he was quite advanced.
He was, and I think when we met, he was way more advanced than me. But then, because as feminine energy and women are usually more intuitive and more connected to existential dimension of life, which is, this topics on consciousness and self-exploration, state of being, intuition. And I just followed that flow, right? And then for me, it happened so fast. But for him, it was like more slower. And I kind of saw that it's like the pace he's moving with is not as fast as for me. But theoretically, he understood what was happening because he's in his religion and all that. He knows what's awakening, what's, shift in consciousness or enlightenment. So theoretically, he knows about it, but because he hasn't experienced it, like, it was almost scary for him, because enlightenment or awakening, it means the death of your old self. Like, that persona, strong woman Mira, who is not open to share her vulnerabilities, her pain, because she's always strong. She is invincible. So that's the person he met. And then all of a sudden, I changed my personality so fast and just became eternal love. And I actually, at some point in my life, I turned into a very, I didn't care about money. I was just such a free spirited person, where I don't want to own a place. I don't care how much money I have. I will just, be in this flow of life. So there was no structure at all. That was like right after this awakening in October 2020, when I came to my village and like all this happened, and like, who am I? I'm like in no man's world. I am nothing. And then I'm like, well, I will create something because I'm still in my body, so I should create type of personality. And then I was like, okay, this personality will be not materialistic. I don't want this personality to be attached to money and house and a apartment, or I just want to be a free spirit, like almost yeah, like I was in denial to a lot of aspects of life that these days people find important. And he started seeing that, like, I lost my drive for money, like I lost my motivation to close deals, or like I'm in sales, right? Like, and he's like, this is not really the person I met, because he really likes those qualities of me, because that's who he is. Right? We when we met, we were a mirror, like
Ambitious.
yeah. And I lost that ambition to make money. Instead, I chose the ambition to experience more love. And he just couldn't understand. His analytical mind couldn't understand what was that, right? And he's like, yeah, like that means that she will probably she's expecting me to provide for her. Like, what is she up to? You know? And that's when the disconnect started happening, because when we met, we were a mirror to each other, and this ambition and this 3D world and stuff, that's what he liked about me. And then I cleaned up this mess, and my only ambition that remained was to experience highest frequency of love, which is very unlogical, and it's hard to understand what I mean by that for a person who really sets ambitions based on material world, right? So I think that's when the disconnect started happening with him, because, and I don't blame him, because for men it's really hard to understand those aspects. And instead I just kept being love, and actually he didn't want to let me go. We were friends for like, I think, a year and a half. After we kind of like, the last time we were intimate, and then, I kind of saw that he becomes distant, and he says we can be friends, and that friendship was for about a year and a half. But I knew that I love him, even when, like, I was like, I don't really care how you call this. I don't need anything from you. I don't need your money. I don't need sex. I don't need anything. Like, I just want the presence. And even when we hang out, you call it friendship. I just appreciate your being here. I just, I enjoy your presence here. And it doesn't matter in which role and capacity you're a friend or whatever. I really don't care. I enjoy this moment with you. Mm-hmm. So we were like that for a year and a half. But because I know that I have these deep feelings for him, and deep within, I was hoping, well, this happened for me, so he's on his journey, and at some point it will happen for him, and we're gonna be a divine union with purpose, and manifest this type of love that wakes people up from their mind and analytical programming, and helps them reprogram and just enjoy life more. So I was stuck in this illusion for 3 years, hoping that one day he just experiences this shift and expansion in life perception, and he will finally get it and join me on this mission of being a union with purpose. And for that, actually, he doesn't even need to do a lot of changes. It's just an inner shift. It's an shift within yourself, right? In fact, I even returned to the same job after awakening. Like for 10 months, I was on disability leave because I had a knee injury, like a serious knee injury. I couldn't walk so for 10 months, I kind of disconnected from this material world. And that's actually when a lot of changes were happening and things like that. So, and after, like, I kind of felt like I'm firm in my truth and what I'm here for, I returned back to my job, and with the new lens of perception. Just like I went back to my village with the new lens of perception, where I grew up, right? I returned to my job with the new lens of perception. And now I just have the same goal, to share the love for life that I have found within myself.